We are going to look at dashboard design so that we can, because what we are actually learning was we're trying to master some of the visuals, right? So, but in this section, I want us to look at how we can actually design an interactive dashboard using some of the models I have explained, and I'm going to add new ones. But the idea is that let's look at how do we develop an interactive dashboard. Remember when we started, we did say that one of the strengths of this program for data analytics is that it has a lot of visualization, and it's one of the best data analytics tool when it comes to creating interactive and dynamic dashboards. So we have learned a couple of visuals, which I'm still going to use some, and I'm going to add new ones. But I just want us to understand the process of designing a dashboard, not just explaining, because the one we did the other time was just trying to understand some visual. So let's assume that as a data analyst with Power BI, you are asked to create an interactive and dynamic dashboard. How do you go about it? And how many visuals are involved? Okay, so the first thing is for you to get your data ready. So we are still going to be working with the Amazon what sales data. Now, remember, I told us that anytime you want to analyze data with Power BI, there is need for you to view the table view or format so that you will be able to draft your analysis questions, right? Okay, so I believe that we all understand this particular data, but just to quickly go through it, this is an Amazon sales data comprising the following headers. We have region, we have country, we have item type, we have 6 channels, we have order priority, we have order dates, we have order ID, we have ship date, we have unit sold, we have unit price, we have unit costs, and then we have revenue, total cost, and what? Total profit. So a lot of analysis insight on this data. This data is very rich. Any angle you are looking at it from, you will definitely see what insights to derive from it. Now, going back to our report view, now that we have studied the data, we want to start modeling different reports that will form the dashboard. Because I have once defined that the dashboard is an interface comprises of 2 or more reports. And these reports are interconnected. That is why we say interactive, which means that what happened to report 1 automatically what affects report 2. Then for the values across these various reports to change dynamically is what makes us to say that a report is what? Dynamic, because the values are not static. They changes after some time interval based on the technology like slicer you are using to what? To filter across the various reports. So normally, if you are to create a dashboard, you are to start by describing the dashboard. Okay? And how do we describe the dashboard? We are going to click on text box. Click on text box, and that will open up the text word editor for you to type. So what are we designing? That is Amazon, right? You say what? Amazon says data, or let's say Amazon sales report dashboard. Okay, now you have to format it Control A to highlight it. improve the size of the write-up here, make it visible, bold it, then centralize it. We can still increase it a little if we want, and then leave it like this. Then you can carry it. So once you are done with your editing, you can click outside. And once you click outside, it will take off what? The text box. So you can click on the edge of that text box to locate it. So I would like to position it at the middle. I would like to position it at the middle. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, since I did not use the whole of the text box, there is need for me to reduce it so that it does not affect other things I would likely have there. So I can also reduce it from this angle if I want. I think it's okay like this. So click. So this is the order. Now, you can decide just to make your dashboard creative. Just to make it creative. So we are going to bring in Power BI measure now. You see, this is where the new topic is coming, measures. So this is actually a topic we have not considered. But I just want to put this visual together with the purpose of developing a dashboard, because that is how you should learn it. Okay, so let's write Power BI measure. What is Power BI measure?
That's like MEA.
Measure, to measure. Power BI measure. The Power BI measure is a calculation. The Power BI measure is a calculation that is used to compute. Power BI measure is a calculation that is used to compute a specific value or metric. The Power BI measure is a calculation that is used to compute a specific value or metric in Power BI reports. In Power BI reports. In Power BI reports. Note, measures are typically used to calculate aggregates. Measures are typically used to calculate aggregates. They are typically used to calculate what? Aggregates. To calculate aggregates. Measures are typically used to calculate aggregates, such as sum, that is through measure as a calculator. We can summarize what? Value. You are going to see how I will use it to answer a lot of questions on my dashboard. I said what? Sum, command average, and percentage. Command and can be based on one or more column in a table, and can be based on one or more column in a table. Can be based on one or more column in a table. Are we together? So let's quickly look at the key features of Power BI measure. Key features of Power BI measures. You know, what I'm doing right now, I'm teaching us these functions at the same time using it to build what? Our dashboard. Okay, so these are some of the key features we use, or key model or techniques we use in summarizing values that can be published in our dashboard. So number one key feature of Power BI measure is calculations. Calculation. So I'm going to explain a little bit on this feature so that you know. Now, when we say feature, we're talking about what makes up this particular word function. That all the features or the attributes, So one of the attributes is what? Calculation. So what do we mean by Power BI measure calculation? Right. Measure, perform calculations on data. Measure, perform calculations on data. measure, perform calculations on data, such as summing or averaging values, such as summing or averaging values, such as summing or averaging values. So that is one of the features. Now, let me pause and break it down so that you know why we kept using the word calculation as one of the feature of what? Measure. Now, I want us to see measure as a calculator. That is the simple way we can actually see it. Yes, Power BI what? Calculator. What is a calculator? What is the role of calculator? Is to perform what? Calculations. Now, the last time I taught us tabular model, right? You saw how we aggregated the value of total profit against what? Categorical value like region, country, right? Now, you will have asked yourself, which function actually what? Add up those values. There is a function. That function came, or that function has already been programmed on that table as a model. That function has been programmed on the matrix or has been programmed on the graph you use. But we are saying that at DB, we are asked to perform certain calculation where the inbuilt function cannot answer the analysis question. Then, as an expert on this program, you should learn how to create measure. That is, you should know how to create calculators. Now, those calculators that we are going to be creating, we are creating them to answer analysis what? Question. We are not just creating them. So there is a question we are trying to address, and the inbuilt function cannot do it. So that is why we have to learn how to build, how to create what? Measures. In other words, how to create what? Calculators for performing analysis for us within our dashboard. Is that clear? So let's quickly look at the next one. The next one is DAS formula. We are still on the what? Power BI key features. Sorry, Power BI measure what? Key features, right? Oh, that is how you captured it. Power BI. Good, it's still the same thing. So the second one is what? DAS formula.
DAS.
DAS. I think I've mentioned it before, right? I said DAS is a language, is a data language, right? Which is used to generate a formula for performing analysis. So let's define that. Measures are defined. Sorry. Yeah, just continue. Measures are defined. Measures are defined. Measures are defined using DAS. Measures are defined using DAS. In other words, which language do we use to create what? This calculator. They are created by what? Using what? DAS. Now, in brackets, just to know the full meaning of that DAS, in brackets, you write data analysis expression. Data analysis expression. Data analysis expression. Are you with me? You close the bracket and write formulas, which provide a powerful and flexible way to calculate values. Which provide a powerful and flexible way to calculate values. To calculate values. So now let us quickly look at the implementation. But note, the calculated value, of Power BI measure, the calculated value of Power BI measures can only be outputted in the dashboard, outputted or presented in the dashboard using Power BI visuals like card or table. Using Power BI visual like card or table. Like card or table. Am I communicating? So that takes us to what is Power BI card? Look up. What is Power BI card? So remember that we are still explaining the what? The visuals, the models, right? And we have not used it before. Now, what I'm saying is that after you have created your measure, for you to output the calculation value here, you need to use one of these what? Model to model it. So you cannot learn measure without knowing what you are going to use to display the calculated value within your dashboard. That is why we are taking two of them side by side. Power BI measure and what? Power BI what? Card. So with the intention of the measure will do the calculation and store it here. Then the card will be the one to what? To display it in our dashboard. Is that clear? So we are learning to do it together. So let's quickly look at Power BI card before I come back to show us the steps on how to create the measure and how to output them with what? The cards. So let's write Power BI card. Power BI cards. Visual. Power BI card. Visual. Power BI card. Visual. So how do we define Power BI card? Right? Power BI card are type of visualization. Power BI card are a type of visualization in Power BI. Remember, I told us that visualization is just like using a model, a format to present your findings, right? As a data analyst. In Power BI, that display, continue. Yes, that display a single value, underline the word single value. So we don't use Power BI card for aggregate analysis. That display a single value or metric in a single and concise way. In a single and concise way. Full stop. Paragraph. Cards are often used to highlight so that you know the primary goal of using card to build an interactive dashboard in Power BI. I said card are what? Often used to highlight key performance indicator. Cards are often used to highlight, that is to point out, key performance indicators. In brackets, you write KPI. So the word KPI represents what? Key performance what? Indicator. Are we following? Now we know what card is now. So we are leaving that, and then we'll now quickly go and create measure now. Now that we know what card is. So let's quickly look at steps by step on how to create Power BI measures / calculator so that you will be reminded that what we are calling measure here also means what? Calculator. So how do we do that? Power BI measure / calculator. Are we together? All right. Measure calculator. That calculator will do a calculation and generates an answer, right? Practice what? What have I done that you want to work on? No. I will allow you to type just this now. Wait here. Are we in kindergarten school? I will give you time to write this test. No, now. What was this weekend class? The speed we are working with is too slow. That is why the program is taking much time. You are not coming 3 times in a week. You pay attention. After all, I'm even providing you guys the video free. So what is the issue? I cannot allow people to just type this now. It's too small. It's just theory that I have done. So at least let me do something you watch to an extent. I've not created a report. If I create like 5 different cards now, I will pause for you to create it. Please, let's up the speed. We are too slow with this class. Now, so like I said, we want to create the measure, and I say step by step. Okay, so you write your step, follow your step later, and implement it as your classwork. So the first thing is for you to outline your analysis question. That is your step number 1. Identify your analysis question. Identify your analysis questions. So you don't involve measure when you have not identified what do you want the measure to calculate for you. I just told you that the measures are what? A calculator that we build on our data in order to what? To perform a particular calculation for us. So if you don't know what you want to calculate, these are not like programming calculator. So these are calculator that you build with goals, a target. So that is why you must have known your question. What question? What do you want to analyze that the inbuilt cannot flexibly do that lead to you creating your own function? So now we are going to use this data. So let me switch to table view so that we can all write down some questions together. Remember, I have advised you before that anytime you want to draft your analysis question, always switch from report view to what? Table what? View, where you can be viewing the values and the what? The features. I am very sure that the organization interests, if you are the owner of this company, your interest will be more on this column. So this column has more analysis strengths than others. So in your data, you must identify the feature that have more analysis strengths. So if we all agree to that, so let's write down this question. The question is, what is the total profit generated from all the country? What is the total profit generated from all the country? The total profit generated from all the words, the country. So that question means that what? Look up here. It means that and I said measures are used to display single words, metric or value, which means that what? At the end of the day, we just have one number. Because what the question says is that we should add everything here, right? The grand total of what? Everything. And it's going to be one line value. It's not like you are listing value against what? Categorical data. That is where measure is needed. Single value what? Or metric analysis or output. So that is one question that I want to answer with the measure. Now, once I have outputted that answer, the company will also want me to tell them how many transactions generated what? That value. So that's my second question. So my second question is, what is the total numbers of transactions in the Amazon data? What is the total number of transactions in the Amazon data? That is the second question I want to answer with my measure or calculator. So the third question is that, the third question will be, if you have written that, what is the total numbers of transactions in the Amazon what? Data set. So who can interpret what that question is asking for?
Who can interpret it? Just look at the data and tell me what you are expected to do. That is counting. Once you hear how many, I have mentioned it before while we were in the set. Once you hear how many is analysis question that suggests what? Using a counting function. That first one I gave to you suggests which function? Sum. Because the question says what? What is the total what? Profit. So the question itself should tell you the function that will be required to build your measure. So I want to make it 3 because when I was defining measure, I mentioned average, right? I measure sum. So let's look at the question that will involve average so that we know how to work with all of them. So right, the next question is, what is the total average? What is the total average of total revenue? Total average of total revenue. So there is a header in the data set called total revenue, which is this, right? So if we are asking for the average analysis, mathematically, we all went to secondary school. How do we calculate average? Divide by what? Good. So it's different from the first question. The first question, you are not dividing, right? This one says you add everything together. That is, must have done the work of the first one, but it will now what? Divide it by the total number of what? Values or entries. So let's assume we have these 3 questions that we want to answer with what? And if you look at these 3 questions, they are just one condition measure analysis. Only one criteria. Total sum of what? This. The question did not say total sum of this where maybe country is equal to. That is not the kind of what we are asking now. This one is just what? One criteria generating single what? Value. So now that remember I said the first step in creating measure is what? Go back to your notes. Identify what? Identify your analysis question. So we have sorted out what? That one now. Now step 2. Step 2, right click on any of the headers. Right click on any of the headers. Right what? Click on any of the headers. So I'll right click here. What are we looking for? Measure. You can see it here. New what? Measure. So right click on any of the header and select new measure. Right click on any of the header and select new measure. So once I click, just watch what will happen. So it's processing the calculator now. So you can see it here. You can up that light so that we can see very well. I notice some of us are struggling. Is it better now?
Yeah.
As now, this is the syntax. It has opened the measure on top of what? Your dashboard. Now, your measure should have a descriptive name that suggests what is going to calculate. So I will delete that measure and type total what? Type total. What are we analyzing? Total what? Gross profit. Sorry, total profit, right? Total profit. So always make sure that you use a descriptive term that explain, are you with me? That explain what you are creating the calculator for. So once I see this here, because it's going to add this now, it's going to populate it here as another header. So which means that you are building the measure, the calculator, on the data. And then those calculations will be outputted through what? The card. That is the reason why I'm connecting both of them together. So now, I will now come after the what? The equal sign. So which means that your next step was supposed to be specify the measure what? Name. That is what I have done here now, right? So the next step, call the measure function. Call the measure dash function. Remember I mentioned what? Dash. As what? Data analysis what? Expression. Is the data language all the functions in Power BI are built on. Every function you use to analyze data in Power BI is built on what? Dash language. So when I said what? Now, identify the what? Or activate the dash function. I will now go back to the question to know which function I'm going to activate. The question says what? Read it out.
What is the total profit generated?
Which means I am summing. Which means I am summing, right? So I will type sum. So the moment I type sum, it brings out what? The sum. So you click on it. Watch out here. I think you should look now. You click. Once you activate the function sum, it lists out all the headers in your data set. Have you noticed that? The question says we are to add all the values under one of these headers. Which of the header? Good. So I will look for what? Where I have total profit, which is this, right? I'll click here. That is a function. Do you understand it? So the next thing I'm going to do is to commit it because this is a single summation function. Now, you don't need to close this bracket. Look at the bracket we open here. You don't need to close the bracket. You know, we have already opened what? The bracket here. So all I need to do is to click on this, commit. So once I click on it, if it does not throw error, and then you watch out here, that name will be added here. Can you see it here now? So which means that you have successfully created what? A calculator. But if you are asked now, where is the value of the calculator in your dashboard? It's nowhere to be found. That is the reason why I mentioned what? CAD. Now, so I want you to watch now because this particular one now, I want to output it with what? With the CAD. So I'm going to create 3 cards, and your card should always be at the top. Your card should always be what? At the top of your dashboard. Because after the card, we are going to analyze aggregate analysis, as comparison analysis, where we'll be comparing, because this particular calculation will give us just a single value, right? Now, if we want to give the breakdown of those values against country, that will not come under the what? The card. That is how you design your dashboard. The card should always be at the top. So now I will now click on, right, to output or to display. It's part of the steps now. To display or to output the calculation value. To output the calculation value. To output the calculation value. Use card. So don't forget that I've already defined what card is before. So how do I activate card? You just click on the card visual, just like the way we click on table the other time. So I will just come here like this. You know, it will give us what? The frame like this. Okay? So from the frame, it means that what? We have to supply the visual data. What is this card going to display? We have to what? We have to put it inside the what? The frame or the model. That is the measure that you created. So which means that you simply select this and then you go to where you have, look at it here. Remember that this is the measure you created, right? And you can see the symbol of what? Calculator. So now you activate it just like the way we are doing it now. Look at it. It has outputted what? The calculation. So what you did, you have just finally answered the question. Remember the question said that what? What is the total what? Total profit generated from all the country. Now you have created it, you have calculated it with what? With CAD. Now remember that I said you are supposed to format every visual, right? For user friendly. So now I want to format this very one. You click on it, you know how to format already. So switch to what? Format what? Visual. Then I want to focus on the value. So I will just come to call out value, bold it if they are not bold enough. But I would like to work with set of color. Remember that my dashboard description is already having this color. So let me see if I work with that color, it will be better. I think it will be better, right? So we have unique color. Now, I'm okay with what? The value display. So let me quickly look at the category label. What is the category label? This total profit that is describing this value, right? So I will also make the value visible. And then, if possible, increase the size a little. This is part of what we have learned before. It's not as if I'm doing new thing here. So now I come here. Let me choose this. Then I will have to align it with that same color. Now, the background of the card, I want the card to stand out, right? I want the card to stand out. So how do I format that? I will have to switch to what? General. Because right now you are talking about what? The model, the container formatting, not the values in the what? The container, which I've also explained before. So I'll go to what? Effect. Because I don't want to write title, because this is already describing the question and answer. So there's no need to add what? Additional title. So I'll skip it. Then go to background. I'll look for a background that will bring it out. So let's say I'm working with this. Now, I will now go and create the next measure. So you are not writing step again now. It's the same step that you follow to create this measure. I am going to follow to create what? Other measure. Because I need additional 2 measures to answer what? The other questions, right? Before I allow us what? To practice. Now, the second question says what? Go back to your notes. Remind me of that question. Total number of what?
Transaction in the Amazon data.
That means what? Is it total?
Yes.
How many? Not total now. We have answered the total question now.
Total.
So,
Yes.
good. Read it out. How many transactions?
The Amazon data.
Good. Was that what you're ready for?
Yes.
Because if I do not hear that how many, I won't know that what this is a measure that require what? Count function, the way I use sum. Because this one I'm going to use count instead of what? Sum. So now let's go there. Look at it. You are just to observe now, because the steps that you need is what you have written now. So I'll do the same thing. I will right click on what? Any of what? The field, right? In the data you are creating the measure on. Then go to that same what? New measure. Okay? So from the new measure, so I will name it as what? Total count. Total what? Count. Total count. Then equals to, this time around, I will type what? Counts. That is why I say pay attention to the question so that you know which of the dash function you need. Now, remember in a cell, we did count and count A. Can anybody still remind us? We did count in a cell and count A.
I think count A involves non-data
Number. That is string, right?
yes.
Why count can only count words? Numbers. Good. So now the column you want to use for the counting, the values there, are they integer or number, or they are strings or text? So if they are text, then you use what? Count A. If they are all numbers, you use what? Just count. Okay? So let me use count A. Are you following? Now, after selecting the count A, since I choose count A, which means what? String counting, I can choose any header. But had it been I use count without A, I cannot choose headers like region. It won't, because what I have there, they are not number. Okay? Yes. So let me use region as the criteria for the counting. Then I will also what? Commit it. So when you watch here now, you see that what? We have also created what? Measure for what? Outputting the result. Now pay attention. Now to display the result beside this one, I will add another word, card. Bring it here. You must form a design. This is dashboard. You must form a design. Now, after that, I will just activate what? The measure I created for it. There are what? 100 and what? 1. Now, I don't want to waste my time to start formatting this the way I did on this. Are you following? I will copy the formatting of this one and pour it here. How will I achieve that? You click on that one that you want to extract each format. Click on format what? Painter. Can you see it? Then, and touch it. Automatically, you don't need to waste your time. So just take your time to standardize one. Subsequently, you just be formatting, copying, and be pasting. So let me answer the last question. You can see that the same thing that I did here now is what I'm repeating. So let me answer the last question, then I will allow us to get here before I continue with another visual. So you are going to be the one to be guiding me now. I want to create another measure to answer the average what? Question, right? The average question. So where do I go?
Maybe one day again.
Eh?
Right click on the data.
And select what?
New measure.
New measure.
Delete measure.
Now, what are we putting here? Let's say average. This is average, have you? Total average. So the formula we are going to use now is what? Average. Average of what? That same total profit, right? No. I think we mentioned total revenue, right? So I pick total revenue. Then commit it. So that is created. Now, how do I display it here? Card, good. And then take it and make sure that. So you have to calculate your space. The space between one card and the other should be equal. Because this is dashboard design. Now, you activate the measure you just created now, which is this. And then, so how do I replicate the design now?
Click on one.
I'll select one of it. Click on what? Format what? Painter. And then click here. That is all. Now that I think for this row to be balanced, I need to have like 4 what? Measure, right? If I want to stick to these 3, then I need to what? Space them what? Out. There is no point of packing them. You just have to make sure that you create equal space between them, and the height should be the same. So you can go ahead now. The next 10 minutes, you should be able to get to where. So far, so good. We have only introduced one new visual, right? Which is what? Power BI what? Card. Power BI card.
So let's quickly look at Power BI Q&A model of visual. Power BI Q&A visual. Have we done that before?
No.
Q&A, question and answer. Have we done anything related to that before?
No.
Okay, so Power BI Q&A visual. So this is another visual we want to look at. And like I said, my target is to build an interactive dashboard, leveraging on this model. So the only model we have used here now is CAD. The measure was not a model, it's just a calculator or a set of calculators that help us to get value for the CAD, right? Good. So let's start with the definition. Power BI Q&A is a feature in Power BI. Power BI Q&A is a feature in Power BI that allows users to ask questions, underline ask question, that allows users to ask questions about their data in natural language, and receive answers in the form of visualizations. So let's quickly look at the key features here before we look at the application. Let's look at the key features. Number one, natural language querying on the word query. Not under the key feature. Have you written that? Key features of Power BI Q&A. Natural language querying. Just to explain briefly what is the role of this feature. Right. Users can ask questions. Users can ask questions in natural language, such as what were the total sales last quarter. That is, if you have, we are just citing this as one of the examples of question you can ask, such as what were the total sales last quarter. So this is an assumption of having sales across two or more quarters. So you want to know from the data what were the total sales. Now, let me expatiate further here so that you know that this particular one is very important. You see, knowing this, you might not even need the measure. Because you see, in the case of measure, I have to write function before I could get the value. But here, I'm just asking the question. So I could have also asked the Q&A, what is the total profit? It will generate it for me. Then convert it to to this card. So there's no need. So that is why it's one of the most, as far as I'm concerned, is one of my favorite visual. Because if I am working in an office and my boss just come and say, please, I want to know the total of this. I don't have to start writing. I will just open the search box like Google. I will just type it just the way it's asking it. Within the next few seconds, the answer will be generated.
So if I want to use the Q&A to answer the question, this count answer. So I will have just asked the Q&A, how many records are in this data set? Within 1 second to tell you that 101. So the beautiful part of it is that after it has displayed the answer, Google, when you ask Google question, Google is not a natural language. When you ask Google question, Google will provide options based on the keyword you use in asking that question, right? Now, if you want to make use of, let's assume that you are making research or you are making research, that results, you can't take it and submit it to your lecturer like that, right? The way it is. You have to copy it, go to Microsoft Word, right? Paste it, do some adjustments before you finally what? Send it or mail it. So the same thing. So this one, we just project the answer. Then it's not left for you to say, okay, the answer should be converted to what? To card. So that is one of the key features of the Q&A. Let's look at the second one, visualization. Visualization as the second key feature of Q&A. Power BI Q&A generates visualizations based on the user's questions. Power BI Q&A generates visualizations based on the user's question, providing a clear and concise answer. Providing a clear and concise answer. So let's look at the last key feature I want to explain, data exploration. Data exploration. So this is another attribute of Q&A. Data exploration. Q&A enables users to exploit their data. So which means that it is good for data what? Exploratory analysis. I say Q&A enables users to exploit their data and discover new insights without needing to know the underlying data structure. Let me take it again. Q&A enables users to exploit their data and discover new insights without needing to know the underlying data structure. So you don't have to know the structure of the data before it generates the answer. All you know is that the answer will be generated. The underlying data structure. Data structure. Is that understood? So now let's look at the practical steps on how, step by step, on how to apply it. Step by step on how to apply it. Number one, if possible, identify the questions identify your analysis question. If possible, identify your analysis question. If possible, identify what? The analysis question. Identify the analysis question. So now we have 3 questions already. The same question that gave us what? This card. Yeah. So let's assume that tomorrow now you don't want to go through creative measure. You know how to explain what? Q&A. You just know your question. So once you have identified your question, this is the visual. Look at it here. Q and what? If you touch it, you notice it will bring it out. Q&A. So your next step is click on the Q&A model or visual. Click on the Q&A model or visual. So it's preparing question. I don't know if you can see the screen. There are questions it has already generated, suggested, based on the data we are working on. I have one here that says, what is the total count by country? Just imagine you want to create measure. Because in our next class now, I am going to teach us advanced measure. This one either is basic measure because it's only one criteria you use in summing. So then I will now, okay, sum up where this column or the total of this column, subtract it from the total of what this column, add it to the total of what? That is advanced now. So look at the question here. So if any of this question does not tally with what we want to ask, remember this is what we want to ask, right? So let me read out the question I have here. Then you'll be the one to tell me whether any of them can answer it. If none can answer it, then I will type my own here. But let's look at the one it's generated by default first. The second one says, what is the total profit by country? That's not the question. This one, what we answered here was the total profit from all the countries, right? But this one, remember what? Per country. Now, the third one is, what is the total count per item type? So these are valid analysis what questions. So these has even opened your eyes to some things, some questions you could have been asked what to answer. But now, none of them tally with what we want. So let's say, or let me just explain one first so that you know how to make use of the one that comes with what? Yeah. The activation. So all you need to just to click here. Once I click now, and then click on this search. Can you see this arrow? Just like Google now. You see this arrow means what? Go, right? So once I click here now, what will happen? It's preparing. You can see that it's blinking here. So it's trying to synchronize the data, and then it will output the results. Look at the results. It has even plotted graph. Now watch the magic now. That's why I said sometimes I don't waste my time using card if I'm rendering this service. But because this is training, I have to show you all the. That's why I show you that one first, because if I'll show you this one, you won't put effort to know that one. Now, you know that if I search for another question now, I will no longer have this, right? So before this one goes off, you see this icon. There is one icon there that says what? Turn this Q&A into a standard visual. So once I click now, to now become what? A visual. It's no longer Q&A. You have disconnected Q&A. This is your real visual, which I can switch to table if I want it in a tabular form. Can you see it? So look at what we did even in the last class when we were dragging. You can even use this, switch to table, and get your answer. These are the things Excel cannot do. Sorry, before. So I've mentioned Excel again. These are the kind of things Excel cannot do. Leave I go. You go settle later. If not, if you don't settle me, I will remove her from this class, because the next class. I'll take her back to weekdays program. Don't mind that. Sabi do this guy. It's like the last one should be. I've forgotten I'm recording. Sorry. Okay, so no, she must do the birthday for that one. When we are through, I'll still land up now so that can take us out. Mama shop is enough. Don't need shop right. So now, so you can see that with this, remember, this type of analysis is categorical analysis or comparison what? Analysis. What about this one? This is what? Single metric what? Analysis. Now, why I wanted to ask that question, because you have to be creative with when you are using card, because this card is not detailed. If I submit this to my boss now, that the total profit generated from all the country is this, my boss will want to know, give me the breakdown per country. So the visual I'm supposed to use here is the breakdown of this. Another one should be another breakdown of what? Another one, instead of me still giving. So if you have your card, always the main report that should follow, at least they should be like breaking down what? The values in your cards. So let me delete this and go and use it, because I want to ask question that will lead to what? Breaking this down. And the question I'm going to ask here is what? What is the total profit per what? Country. So that at the end of the day, it will list out the unique country, aggregate their respective what? Profit, and then the last value should be equal to this. So let's go back to the Q&A again before I allow us to practice it. So I go back to the Q&A. This is it. Now, I'm not dealing with the default question now, right? I want to ask that question myself. So let me ask now, what is the total what? I don't think my total is total profit
Generated from all
per country, right? Let me just.
generated from all
No, that was the question you answered with card. Now you are breaking it down
the
per country. Good. So let's say what? Per country. Per country. So now let's go. I click. Let me see how. Showing results for what is Amazon data total profit per country. It's like there is a typographical error. I want to find out total profits. So let me click on what brought up. So it means that my question was not well constructed, so it's corrected me, and then I have it. So what will I do now? I will now convert it to what? To visual, right? So it's no longer Q&A now. Now, if I want it, I would like two of it. I want this one, and then I want the what? The tabular one here. Remember, I've once told us that when you are creating your dashboard in Power BI, please make sure that you mix it up with what? Graphs and what? Table and card. That is what brings out the design of your dashboard. Don't just have only table. So I need this one. So what I will do is to copy and paste it, then switch the other one to what? Table, and put it here. Now, to copy this, I'll click here, come to home, click on copy. Then while you are still there, click on what? Paste. So you have pasted, then you shift it back, because I always want the table to come first before what? The graph. Then I will just switch this from graph to what? Table. So the only thing I will do now is to take time to go and do what? Format it. Now, I will shift this one back so that I can have my slicer somewhere here. Because this is a dashboard, it should be user-friendly, it should be well-designed, well-layout. You have to consider what is taking what space per time. Don't forget what I told us some time ago. What you normally use to sell yourself for remote job is Power BI dashboard. If you can take time and be creating good looking what? Dashboard, screenshotting them, use them to build your portfolio. So don't wait until I give you assignment. Once you are done with one data, take another one, design what? Dashboard. Screenshot the image. I told you before that you should be keeping the picture somewhere. So now, let me give us a few minutes to replicate this quickly. Pause.
Then just run. Okay, now let's add slicer, right? Let's add slicer in order to regulate this card. And I hope we all know that whatever you must have developed, your slicer regulates it as your report. So once you bring in the slicer is automatically what? Connected to. So based on the report that I am having, my slicer will be, let me look at the data set again. So let's say I would like to slice, I have a report that is giving me breakdown of country, right? But I don't have the one that is giving me the breakdown of region, right? So I would like to slice per region or per what? Item type. So I'll click on my slicer. We have already treated slicer as an advanced filter command in Power BI. So we add data based on how we want to filter value across the models. So like I said, I'm using what? A region. So with the help of this, I can decide to say, I want to change the slicer setting from list to something like tile. Let me go to slicer setting, change it from vertical list to what? To tile, so that I can have them in what? In boxes, depending on the one that will design your report better. So you need to make sure that everything should get towards designing your reports. Now, it's just for me to do some formatting, which I have already what? Taught us, right? Just to make sure that all these values are visible. So let me just click here and go to value section first, bold it, if possible, change the color, and then increase the size a little since I still have some space within the frame. And then let me also see if I can format the total. I think, let me see. I think I was okay with the default. I want to give it background color. Let me see if that would be necessary. It's not. So let me see if I can add some shadow to this to stand out if possible. Under data, under effects. Let me see, just to make it stand out. Activate the shadow effect. And come here, choose your shadow color if possible. Then, like I said, once you have formatted one, so I want to try something. If I give this right of white, what do you think it will be better? White color, the right of. Let me try it and see what I will get. If it doesn't go, I'll leave it. Is white better? I think it's better, right? White is better. So let me keep the main value white. So I will just select here, pick format painting, then apply it all to all the. Then there's need for me to enhance this because all these values are not that visible. I'll consider the S axis, change them to black, increase the size a little if you want, so that they can be more visible. Then to that thing again, we need to touch. I want to add title. Title, is there anything wrong with the title? So the bars, I can say, I think I'm okay with the color. The color align with other color. So even the color do not align, then there will be need for me to. So now I added what? Data. I want to attach the value immediately after the bars. So I can come here and say, here did I added that? I think here. So I want to go to the value and be able to also enhance the values so that I can see them. They are not that visible. Always make sure that everything is properly defined. The color still remain black. Detail, if I want to do anything under detail, I can expand it. So increase it. Hope I'm still on that. Color, I'll choose this. Background color of this, don't think if I want to add a background color, I'll do the same, depending on you. So let me add this background color. Then plot area and background. I want to use an image, but in this case, I'll prefer using what? General to perfect it. So under general, I'll go to where? General, yes, general effects. So let me choose background. That will go. No, this doesn't go. So I think I'll leave this background like this. So let me just change the canvas what background as in the general background to see if that will bring out what. Though it's okay like this, but I just want to see a better presentation. So I'll just click on it, then come here, and then go to wallpaper, and then choose. Let me try light color. Or should we go for black? Let's see what black will give to us. So black is good. It brought out the right. Brought out the data. So let me check something. I think that black was better. So let me also enhance my slicer. So I'll go to, I already consider setting the value. Let me enhance them a little, make them more visible. Come here, increase the color a little. Then go to general to consider some setting. The background color of it, I'll make it black so that it can stand out from that place. And then if there's any other thing you want to put there, you can play around them if you want to activate border, the icon, and the rest. Okay, so now let's try and see how we'll be able to use our slicer to filter values across what? All the reports. So if I click, let's say I'm asked, here we want to see, remember what we analyze here. What you analyze here is the total profit, right? From all the country. Now, this value is for all the country. And all the country makes up what? All the countries makes up the region, right? So let's say I want to check the total profit from Asia region country only. So if I click here now, you see that what? It goes around across all the what? The reports. So this is only Asia country. These are the list of what? The country, because it's also updated this report for you to know how many of them actually what? Amounted to this. So I can say, okay, I want to check for this. Now, as a data analyst, as you are doing this, you are supposed to be noting down your observation. Because once you filter with another criteria now, those values will no longer be there. So at the end of the day, you are expected to tell us which country, which region has the highest or generated the highest what? Total profit. Remember what we got here, 6 points, right? Because you are supposed to be observing this because you're going to present your observation. So this one is 4 points. So Asia is still doing better. Let me check here. This is 2 points. And then even among this country, you can see the one that generated what? The highest percentage within that value. Take note of all that. This is 11. So we have seen the one that is higher than what? Asia now. Let's keep going. That is Europe. Then this is 5 points. This is so at the end of the day, if you are to write your observation, you will write that what? Europe, right? Europe generated what? The highest profit, followed by what? Asian, from what we just saw now. Followed by what? I think is this one. That was the next one. So all this, you go through them and note down your observation. And then if you are presenting to them live, that is, you come with your laptop and be communicating all this to them live, instead of the reporting method where you must have gone through this by yourself and derive all the possible insight, put them in writing, then submit it to them. If that is not the case, it means that as you are slicing, you are also explaining what each of the reports are saying. Exactly. Now, another thing I want to show us that supposing we are asked to find out the total profit generated from two regions. In this case now, Asia and what? Europe. How do we go about that? If I've taught you slicer, you should know it. How do we go about that? Because right now you are outputting per region. Let's assume you want to merge two regions together. What do we do? Control, and then I'll click on what? Control did not work, so shift. Okay, let me click here and see first. So that is what? Yeah, it worked. That is control. This is for what? This is combining what? Two regions together. Asia and Australia and Oceania together. This is the amount generated. How many transactions were made there? 20 what? 2, based on what you analyze here. So here is what? Here is where you calculated what? The average, right? This is the average generated. And then this is what? The graphical what? Presentation. And this is what? The tabular what? Aggregates or categorical analysis. So peradventure you are done with this. Then you add another what? Page to answer other questions. It is not compulsory that you compact all your questions. You might have more than 3 questions, because here, now how many questions do we answer? 3, right? Now, if these 3 questions have used the whole of this dashboard, then you are allowed to what? To go to the next one. So you now create them here. So remind me that in our next class, I'm going to teach us how to create button links. A button that if the report that you ought to be here or develop here, but because of space, you couldn't put it here, and you want to formulate a button here that you click on the button, it will jump to what? Just like, how do you do that? Okay, so you click on the button and then it brings you to this place. That is linking button. So we are going to look at that. So any questions so far? Any question? Because your assignment, I think I gave us one assignment the other time. What was the assignment I gave to you the other time? Please check your notes and let me know. I gave us one assignment last time. I think I still have some space here. Let me shift this one a little. What is the assignment?